Christ said there's no greater love than one laying down his life for his brother. Jesus loves the church, and he proved it by laying down his life for her. Yeah, the name Vlad indicates that I'm not originally from here. I was born in Ukraine and I immigrated to the US when I was a year old with my family. And we moved here to Sacramento and I grew up in Sacramento. After finishing university, I felt a compelling call to go into ministry. And as I was looking at different seminaries, I had reached out to a friend that said, hey, you need to come down to LA to Masters because you need the church just as much as you need seminary. So me and my bride, right after university, we moved to LA, never thinking that we're gonna come back to Sacramento. And at that time I was comfortable and I thought, Lord, I want to do something that you are calling me to do. And roughly around the same time, I had a dear brother reach out to me from Sacramento who said, hey, there's this idea, there's this opportunity. Would you prayerfully consider coming back?
He came to Grace Church and to the Master's Seminary in a season where we had a significant focus on church planting. And as he was nearing the end of his seminary education, we started to talk about this church plant. God made him a preacher. God uniquely gifted him to be a preacher and a pastor, and I encouraged him to actually go back, not because we didn't want him to stay here, but because I believed that he needed to take this risk, desire and a passion that he had from the time he arrived. And that's the element of risk and faith that really takes us into the description of the whole story as being a story of providence and perseverance.
When we were confident enough to go is when we knew that our membership of 54 people were all in. Even though there was still risk involved, we felt like we weren't just going to Sacramento to plant a church. We were going to Sacramento to start doing church with the 54 members that we had in our core.
I don't know if I've ever seen a church planter so lacking confidence in himself. And honestly, that's the formula that God uses. That's why 1 Corinthians 12 praises weakness as the key ingredient for ministry. I saw Vlad maintain a posture of humility and no confidence in himself, but instead that kind of weakness that God commends and that God blesses and that God uses because he gets all the glory.
Talking about 40, 50-hour work week at Grace, teaching Bible study, and then on a Friday night, my wife and my oldest, who at that time wasn't even 2 years old, we would get into the car and we would drive through Friday night to have meetings on Saturday, enjoy corporate worship on Sunday here in Sac.
Get home in the middle of the night and Vlad would go to work on Monday. During all that time, I was also pretty pregnant. The drives back and forth were extra fun, and Ava screamed a lot, which gave us a lot of time to think and rethink this whole idea.
And then we had church planting organizations that were involved, and then we had some funding loss that took place. But who cares about the odds being stacked against you if there's a good sovereign God that has a purpose that he's accomplishing and just using you as a faithful vessel and tool to do it.
When the first meeting happened, I couldn't believe my eyes. I actually didn't want to cry, but I didn't know who to cry to because there was so much. It felt like very celebratory. It was all about Jesus and making most of his name.
The very first Sunday, we had a prayer huddle backstage. I pulled the curtain and I kind of peeked out, and it was pretty sparse. And I remember going into that prayer huddle and just saying, hey, we have been faithful and we just have to trust that the Lord is going to build according to his timing. open up my Bible, and then just look and see that every chair was packed out. And I had the privilege of opening up Hebrews 1:1 and declare to all of those people, our members and all of the visitors that had come, that Christ is the final word. And as a result, everything that we're going to do moving forward in this local body is exalt him because he's worthy of it.
I never felt that we were starting something new, anything like that. Like the church has existed for all the time. It was just this different expression with this express focus to proclaim the gospel in Sacramento.
We knew that we wanted to find a new home church, and Mike suggested we check out City Bible Church. And to me, I'm like, CBC, okay, cool sounding church. I'm like, immediately red flag. And then I heard the pastor was like this 27-year-old guy from LA. I'm like, no, Mike, we need a serious church. We need a good church. We visited and just kept coming back every Sunday. It was like, let's just come back one more time till it wasn't a question anymore. And the gospel was made clear to me that our sin isn't what defines us. So that was beautiful and honestly life-changing for me. We're no longer saying one more time, it's not a question, this is home and we love it.
We got a place called McClaskey Adult Center and started to meet there. Right away, it was full and it was difficult. It got really warm during the summer, and so we set up fans in there to try to mitigate that because there's no AC. And then at a certain point, the Lord wanted to relocate us because
our permit actually got pulled, and they said, hey, you can't meet here anymore. And that's when the search began, and we started going to every other place in the region trying to look for an alternative.
And Hiram Johnson, not too far away, was available.
It was so big. And one of Vlad's brothers actually proposed it before McClaskey, and we're like, what are we gonna do? We're gonna be like a drop in the bucket.
But it was an exciting time because the church was growing, and we continued to grow in ministry, in people serving. All of that happened so quickly as we were scattering in order to find the right people and to be able to set up each Sunday, which was a chore, but it was a blessing and a joy as well.
In early 2020, we started hearing that events are getting shut down, and the wheels started turning. Okay, we're meeting in a public school, so most likely that's going to hinder our ability to gather. And we get an email before we have to meet on Sunday that we can't use the facility that we've been meeting at for years.
I remember distinctly saying during that time, if we do this biblically, if we respond biblically, everybody should be mad at us. Because the biblical response does not tailor to anybody's preference or thought or ideal. That season, we were fighting for how to make God number one.
The second we really saw each other again, there's really nothing that could compare. I mean, the separation really made you feel how important it is to be with the church physically.
This moment of we're a set up and tear down church, we're moving around from different venues and doing all this setup, and then we kind of found some stability where we were at Hiram Johnson for a while and everything felt comfortable, and then COVID hit, and it's almost like we didn't really skip a beat. So we're just like, all right, where are we going to set up this week? So we kind of transitioned that. And it was interesting because, we did a couple Sundays streaming from an office, and then we started meeting outside. And everyone was just so willing to like, all right, where are we this week? And what do we need to do? And it was so cool to just see people just like piling in for setup and tear down. Someone's driving a trailer, setting up stages, just like the hands that were on everything. It was incredible to see.
Moving from church to church and then park to park, all these were providences that seemed like spiritual opposition, but God kept using every single one of those to confirm that what God is doing is undefeatable.
God puts you in that season of life in the right place.
My son Austin, he got into a really bad car accident, was hit by a car during COVID.
You know, I didn't call my mom, I didn't call my dad. First thing, I called the pastor. I say, brother, you know, please pray. It's not just, you know, one family praying. I felt like the whole world was praying, you know.
Whenever you're going through it, it's hard to go through it, but when you call on him, he will be there for you. It's a family here, for sure.
The very first place we met is right across the street. I remember we had a park day here for our people, and I saw this building, that it was a Mormon Little C Falls Church. And I remember thinking, man, that would be a great spot for a City Bible. However, how realistic is that going to be? To see the Lord's providence later, that this thing would go up for sale and the Lord would provide the resources for us to buy it. And nobody could have planned that in 2016. That is the providence of God.
Our goal was to reach this geographical area. So as a result, to find a building that could be home base for us that was 3 blocks away from where the original plant was, and for us to fulfill our mission of trying to have a light, a gospel light in this portion of Sacramento, came to fruition with the Lord providing this specific building.
The anticipation of being here and doing the renovation and having our own church was also something that generated a lot of excitement. It was amazing. Young and old, everyone, whatever skills they had, we tore this thing apart. But once it became to completion, wow, it was just a beautiful, great feeling to come together knowing this is our building, and that's City Bible.
It's similar even now that we're planting a church. We're just in the long line of God's faithfulness of preserving his people, his gospel, and his church for thousands of years. So yeah, nothing's changed.
Jesus really, really loves me. He takes care of us. He provides for us. There is no lack when we trust him. He provides beyond what we could even imagine. This is not what I pictured 10 years ago.
Our goal is to show Christ clearly every Sunday through the songs we sing, through the scripture that is being read, through the word that is preached, through every element of our church service. We want to minister to one another and grow together in our love for the Lord.